So it was easy in 2003, but the system was one point of failure. And there was site resilience was really expensive. Now, they give you what you want, people liked it, but it's really complex. You have total cost of ownership is really high. Because you need to bring someone to speed. You need someone who actually understands a lot of things. And then comes the magic. Exchange Server 2010. So, if you remember, we had, can anyone remember what the mailbox functions are? It did two things. One of them is database. What was the second thing? Outlook connection from our clients. So the mailbox in 2007 had two functions. In 2003 had all the functions. So in 2007 it had database plus Outlook clients connections. And it had storage groups tied to the server. So the storage group is owned by the server. It can be, like the database can be moved, but there's a process in there, there's a catch. They also had a lot of things that changed. I'm not going to speak about, but if you want to know the difference, they removed the single copy instant. It's 70% like lower input output from. So yeah, this is actually worth mentioning. So 2003, 2007, and 2010. This is 70% less input output from 2003. And this is 70% less input output from 2007. So if you have Exchange Server 2007, I would be more aggressive. Because then, imagine how much input output you're saving. You're saving like, it's 10, like the same hardware, if you can actually manage to make it work, will be 10 times faster on Exchange Server 2010. Plus, usually you're going to get new hardware, so it's going to be like 100 times faster. So, we're only speaking about replication today. If you want any other information, I will be more happy to speak for 3 days. So now, what they have done, they have got the first thing they got is, they got the database out of the storage group. You remember storage group is logged, they share the logs between databases. So if you have one storage group, and we have 3 databases inside it, there's going to be one log set. And the 3 databases will use the same log files. Now, they got this out, so they deleted the whole, they ditched the whole storage group concept. In 2010, there's no storage group. And they have only databases. So every database will have its own set of logs. And the databases are not aligned to server anymore. Database is owned by either the organization, and it can be moved freely between servers, or by the DAG. And the DAG is something we're going to speak about in a bit. So now, the first thing that we got released of, databases are not tied to server anymore, and this is awesome. No more storage group. So databases are much portable. The second thing they did, if you remember, we had local continuous replication, we had cluster continuous replication, we have standby continuous replication. And this is no good because there's no clustering in it, so it's really useless. These two, we need a cluster, and as I said, if you want to change today your infrastructure from what you're having now, you can't use the same infrastructure. You have to build something new, start by building the cluster, and then adding the nodes to it. So they actually ditched the whole 3 things. No more, all of what I was talking about, you can forget forever. You don't really need to worry about local LCR, CCR, SCR don't exist anymore in my world. And I'm really grateful. So now we have only one thing, we have DAG. DAG is database availability group, and it actually not only replaced these 3 things, it only got out of the cluster. It uses the cluster service, but it's not on the cluster service. So actually, if your Exchange Server today was 2010, we can just go and enable DAG and add a new servers. We don't need to build something new. So DAG simply is this. I was preparing a presentation and I thought, no, I would like to write. I know I have bad writing and get things messy, but it helps me remember stuff. So as we see, sorry, I forgot to mention that they also removed this function from the mailbox. So mailbox does not service Outlook clients anymore. Like today, Outlook clients all connect to the mailbox. If you move to 2010, all Outlook clients, everything will be connected to the client access. So the client access is now actually much more mature. It has more, it's a true layering, because it was layering, but you have one function that's actually going through the layers. So now you can actually really worry about only the database when it comes to mailbox, because this is the only thing it does, with one exception, which is public folders. But they were trying to remove public folders and they can't. They're trying to sell you SharePoint and move everything to SharePoint, but people still use public folders, even when they have SharePoint for some reason. So now we have all of this garbage, sorry, excuse my French, is gone. We didn't need to worry about it. All the stress is released now, you don't have to remember it. Now we have DAG. DAG is mailbox only, because this is the mailbox. It's only database, it does nothing else. So we have up to we had only 2 copies of the database in 2007. And it was a lot of work. Now we can have up to 16 mailbox servers, wherever we want. We can have 2 in here, and 2 in Germany, and 2 in France, and 1 in Jordan to support the economy. Jordan is good. And it's just like that. We have up to 16 servers. We go to any one of them, and we say enable DAG from the, even like from the EMC. Because there's EMC and there's command line, which is like the PowerShell, Exchange Management Shell. Actually, I would like to show you a presentation. We have like a virtual machine on a separated PC, and we enable DAG because it's really fun. You just need to go there, you enable the DAG, it will install the cluster services. It's using the cluster services, but it's not using a cluster. The cluster now is really roaming. And the reason for this, because as you remember, the database is not tied to the server. The reason we had to use the virtual cluster, because if I have Exchange 1 and Exchange 2, it's the cluster, which is, we call it Exchange. It's the only one who's allowed to access the database, because it's tied to it. So if Exchange 1 is actually managing it now and it dies, Exchange 2 name is not cluster, so it can't access the database. That's why we have to go and, by the way, your name is cluster. Don't tell anyone that your name was Exchange 1. So now we don't need that. The cluster is just there for the heartbeat. It's just there to monitor the witness share. But we like, it's really like we're not tied to the cluster. So you go, you enable DAG, it will restart, install some services, and you have a DAG. You can just add servers to the DAG, up to 16 servers. You can have more than 1 DAG. So let's say you have 100 servers. You can have as many DAGs as you want. Every DAG is up to 16. You can have databases as many you want, as distributed. Like you can have on the same server, for the first server, you can have DB1 active, DB2 active, DB3 passive. Then you can have on server 2 DB passive, DB2 passive, DB3 passive. On server 3 you can have DB1 passive, DB2 passive, and DB3 active. So you can play and you can switch. It takes like 2 minutes, because they're all like if they're healthy, like if they're still synchronizing, it should show you it's synchronizing. If they're healthy, it will say healthy. So you can just like, it takes less than 2 minutes to switch from this database, move it from here to here, or maybe create a new copy on here. It takes time to create a new copy. I'm not gonna say 2 minutes. Take maybe 2 days.